We're back with another episode in our Generations series, where we explore what it's really like being a teacher across different stages of life. We've gone down memory lane and talked about teaching in our 20s, 20 years ago. Today, we're fast forwarding to the present and chatting with Antonella Pinelli. Antonella is someone we've already learned from both in and out of the classroom. She's a young teacher gearing up for a full-time career, and today we're exploring what it's actually like teaching in your 20s right now. Let's dive into the well.
Welcome to the Edgewell Podcast, a show created for, by, and with teachers. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chelsea. Our goal is to share insights and connect with fellow teachers on how to thrive both personally and professionally.
Join us as we dive deep into the well of information filled with relatable tips, practical discussions, and ideas that go way beyond the classroom walls. Let's be well
and do well together. Antonella, welcome to the show. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been listening to you guys all along.
Aw, thanks, Antonella. We appreciate that. Let's get into what it's like teaching in your 20s. How has your career started, and what are you doing right now?
When I was 24, I graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts degree and my education degree. I began supply teaching at 25 after I completed my Master's in Education, focusing on ecological education. So right now, I am an occasional teacher, supply teaching every day, usually in intermediate and senior classes, so 7 to 12.
And we are very lucky to have you in the 7-8 schools. And I did not realize that you had a master's degree. That is amazing. And I think, Chelsea, we could say that we have known Antonella since the very beginning of her career, because if I recall, Antonella, you were in my classroom right before the pandemic hit, and you were on one of your very first placements.
Yes, it was my second placement in my first year of my professional year. And I was with Alex for about 2 weeks. And then we said, oh, we'll come back in a couple weeks when it's over. And I haven't seen her since.
And then you got stuck with me.
Yeah, and we had so much fun. We made lots of videos.
Yeah, we did. I learned a lot. We had so much fun. And one thing I noticed about you, especially in the intermediate model, is you're always so calm and like cool with the kids. And I think that really goes a long way. So with what you're doing right now, what are some things that have helped you in building confidence when you're in the classroom?
I think a big part of building confidence has come with time and experience. Just spending more time in classrooms in different schools, mostly. Over time, I began to understand how each school runs and what the expectations are in that school and how to handle different situations. You can read about it as much as you'd like, but it's nothing like real world when you're in front of all these students. I know that you've spoken about student social cues in previous episodes, and being able to pick up on students like that is something that you need experience to actually understand. Knowing when to step in, when to give space, redirecting in a way that works for that particular group. It can really change the energy that you feel, as well as how students feel towards you as a teacher in that moment. I think the act of learning how to pivot.
Oh, pivot, our favorite word. Yes. Okay. So it's interesting that you say that, because I'm putting myself in your shoes right now. And so how many years in would you be, Antonella? Would I say 6? Would I be accurate? Not a math woman here.
This is my
4th year. Okay. So 4 years in. And I think if you were to look back from beginning to now, you're identifying you've learned so much and you have all this experience that you can apply in all the different cultures and all the different schools. And what I'm going to just share with you is that learning continues. In 5 years from now, for me, even though I've been doing it for a long time, things will have evolved, things will have changed. And that experience continues to build off of before. And so it doesn't end, which is really exciting. And it keeps it forever challenging. So far, just thinking about challenges, what are some major challenges that you find right now while teaching in your 20s?
Okay, quick story. Last week, I was walking in the high school hallway during a prep, minding my own business, as I do, and a teacher called out to me. They're like, uniform. I mean, it's happened to me a few times before I was like a regular there. I just panicked and said, okay, I'm sorry. I'll find it.
Being mistaken for a student. It's a compliment.
I just don't wear those school colors to those schools anymore.
Smart.
It's really
You
important.
can't.
Smart.
As a teacher in my 20s, I've felt sometimes I do still feel like the lowest on the ladder in a school work environment. When I first began, I was nervous to ask questions to a lot of staff members, being at risk of looking naive in front of them, which does lead to a lot of learning moments in the classroom. Now I'm 29, and I either know which questions to ask in order to be prepared and also feel comfortable enough to ask the questions or ask for help when I need it. I think a big part of being secure is by not feeling isolated.
So we talk a lot about the staff room in our podcast, and that, for me anyways, and for what I've heard from Chelsea, because we talk once in a while, is that is a space that helps us to not feel alone and to not feel isolated and to maybe ask those questions. Have you found that you can do that in those communal spaces that we share?
I do find that speaking at lunch or in the staff room just makes such a big difference on my day and techniques. Now, even I just sit there and listen sometimes about stories and different things to do. It's incredible how much you just learn from observation, just being a fly on the wall sometimes, even.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I think it's so important to just emphasize what you said about asking questions, because that is one of the greatest skills you can have as a teacher. I mean, your job is to manage a group, to inspire a group. And one of the things that you need to do with that group is to make those people feel heard. And as sort of the leader or the person who's guiding the group, it's so important for you to ask questions to them and ask questions to the people around you on how you can actually do the work. We always say you're in the business of people, so you can know your curriculum and you can think about all of the things you learned in teachers college, but it's being in those different environments around all of those different people that you really truly learn how to do the job. One of the biggest things I learned about teaching is not so much to just constantly study your curriculum, because you can know that like the back of your hand, but to actually study people and to just keep doing that throughout your whole career, because that's what's shifting and changing. We're all shifting and changing throughout the career, and we have to be on the up and up. And you also said that you're 29, so you're moving from your 20s into your 30s. So can you tell us, because we have been there, what is shifting for you personally and professionally?
Well, I started my 20s back in my undergrad, and it has been quite a while. A lot has changed since then. I think most people are moving from your 20s into your 30s. You do get that shift in perspective, especially as you're building both your teaching career and your life as an adult. Honestly, it's really been a decade of steadily learning and growing up, just figuring things out. I like saying yes to things.
Yeah, yes. And that is the truth. You know, when you say yes, you are accepting an opportunity to learn. And I mean, do I flip that and say, and at some points in life, saying no is an opportunity to grow in a different way. So it's true. When you do take on new roles within the school community, you're around new people, you're learning new things. Saying yes for me has also brought me some of my richest learning, or being uncomfortable has brought me some of my, richest learning.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you are
yeah.
in the phase where you feel like you have the energy to say all of the yeses. And that's a great thing, because that is only going to move you forward. That's how you learn how to figure out how to be intentional with your time going forward.
Oh, exactly. At this point in my career, I'm basically collecting experiences like stamps. What can I get next?
Love the
I
metaphor.
love that. And I mean, it does. You collect all those stamps and you look at the stamps and you're like, these stamps really, make my envelope really, really beautiful. And some of these other stamps were too challenging for me to look at, or whatever. I don't know where I'm going with the stamps here, but the point is you got to try it to know if you're going to like it. And had you told me 20 years ago that I was going to become proficient at A, B, C, and D, I would have laughed at you. I went in directions I did not expect in my career. And had I not said my yeses, I wouldn't have been, like you said, gifted those opportunities. Thank you for bringing me back to that time in my life where, that openness brought me everything that I have.
So, Antonella, in gaining this experience, where do you find support?
I think validation from others really helps with emotional understanding and regulation, as we may have touched on a little bit before. And of course, I love venting about my day to families and friends, as one does. But if we're sticking with the well analogy, I had to Google how wells work before this.
Oh.
I take from the well every day by sharing what I know in the classroom. But validation is like the aquifer underneath. It actually keeps the well going.
Wow.
So the audience can't see my face and Chelsea's face or my hands. My mind is like, it's blown right now. Chelsea and I have tried so many times at the end of our episode to, create a scene for the listeners of what the well looks like. And you dug so much deeper down beyond the groundwater into the aquifer. And we never went there, Chelsea. We've never gone beyond.
Do I know what aquifer is?
Outdid us. This is why conversations are so wonderful, is because you learn these new bits of information that you can embed into the classroom or that humble you and make you realize you've got a lot to learn.
Everyone does. Everyone has a lot to learn. We never stop.
Yes, that's right. We do talk about the well and the importance of keeping the well full. So can you tell us, Antonella, how you handle the balance between teaching and personal life? Because that has a lot to do with your well.
Yes, for sure. At this time in my life, I feel that I'm not too overwhelmed with my teaching career, as it does not include much planning or marking or other of the many responsibilities that a full-time teacher may have. I feel that I'm taking advantage of my free time that I have at this part of my life. My husband and I travel as much as we can. I'm completing as many additional qualifications as I can.
Good for you.
And I try to involve myself as much as possible in stuff like union meetings, events, or anything taking place, because why not, right?
Yes, that's great.
It sounds like you're enjoying this the time that you're in. You're also building for the time that you're heading towards, and you're also spreading your wings into areas that don't just keep you, within the school. It's beyond also. And I think that's really a beautiful way to set yourself up for success for the coming decades, the challenges and opportunities that will present themselves moving forward. Forward motion. We got to keep it moving forward.
And what about outside of school? I know that you are an extremely creative person. So what are you doing outside of school to nurture your creativity these days, Antonella?
To fill my well.
You got it.
I like doing many different things as much as I can. I always see something happening or crafts at a craft sale and go, I could do that. And more often or not, I do try it. I've learned to unicycle, play bassoon, knit, sew, paint, bake, anything. I mean, if you don't try it, how do you know that you can't do it, right?
Exactly.
And there are a lot of things I can't do, but I've learned that.
You are very determined. That's a big part of bringing passion into your teaching as well. I mean, even when you were in my classroom for a short time, you brought creativity in there, you brought your passions in there, and you taught other people how to do it. And that makes teaching really fun and allows you to bring your own interests into the classroom.
Well, and that list that you said, did I actually hear the word unicycle? I think I did, didn't I? Yeah. So all of these pieces of the puzzle that make you a more dynamic person, it creates this door opening with students who may be following an off the beaten path, kids who juggle or unicycle or who are crafters. And I think that for relationship builds, dynamic people who try new things have the opportunity to connect with more students. My other point is that if it has not already happened, all of these things that you're exploring, the yeses, the passions that you are trying, the crafts, the creativity with the tech that I've seen you do, there will come a time where they all amalgamate and you run the show to a point where all of those talents come together to create something amazing, and that is, even more passion filled because you're bringing it all together. Maybe you've already done that, Antonella, but it's taken me a really long time to get to that point where things came together. So I hope you see that for yourself right now and in the future.
I look forward to it for sure. And I think like confidence does play a big role in bringing your own creativity to the classroom, and you have to be prepared whether or not sometimes it does fail or it doesn't work. But either way, it is still not only an educational lesson, but a life lesson for these students, especially the grades 7 and 8. You want to make things that they'll remember.
Absolutely. And you are a very confident teacher. You are a very confident person. You confidently show your interest in things that are not, I'd say, classic. So I'm wondering, for teachers that are just starting out in their first little bit in their first job right now, what is some advice that you could give? What would you really want a brand new teacher right out of teachers college to know?
A new teacher, I would tell them, get involved as much as you can when you can, and use your talents that you have. Everybody brings their own tool case to work, and you never know what's in yours until you use it. You know when I don't unicycle, Alex?
In the classroom.
When I'm too tired.
Are you telling me right now that you've developed boundaries around when you do things and that you know how to say no to things when you're too tired? Or is there, it's a joke. Tired.
I love that you didn't get that. That's funny.
I didn't get it. Like, I literally was like, where's she going? And is this like a well reference about wellness? Like, this is a problem for me.
Okay, Antonella. Now, aside from your jokes, what's something else that seasoned teachers or administrators might not understand about what it's like teaching in today's world?
Sometimes reinventing the wheel is exactly what we need. It's not about doing the extra work, because that will happen and it may happen. It's about finding a way that feels more aligned or creative, sometimes finding a way that's more efficient. I think younger teachers are just a completely different generation, and it may take a bit to try and understand the perspective they bring.
And I think that's another place where asking questions comes in, reminding ourselves as experienced teachers to learn and to ask from those younger generations, because that has really helped both of us. I'm speaking for you, Alex.
A little bit of reverse mentorship has really gone a long way. And I mean, we've been at the staff room table where in an organic conversation, because really you are closer in age to the students and your lived experience as a student is closer than mine would be, for you to be able to, articulate something with that lived experience, it helps to reframe things for me. It is incredibly useful to talk to teachers who are newer to the profession. And I like what you said about efficiency. Sometimes when you've been doing something for a really long time, you can't even imagine it with a different set of eyes. And I've been gifted with time with younger teachers who've shared some really, really good advice and really good feedback. And I appreciate that. So you take, but you give. And that's great.
It's like a symbiotic relationship, like the birds and the hippos.
Yes, or the aquifers and the drinker of the water.
Yes, of course.
Although I think actually the drinker of the water is just like a taker, pretty much. So, you know what? I'm wondering if you have something, that you'd just like to share that you're thinking about based on this conversation, or something that you wished that we'd asked you. Is there a question that you wished we'd asked?
As a supply teacher, I have become much more efficient at trivia nights, because I am getting little spots of each class every single day. I'm learning a little bit of history on Mondays, French, geography Wednesdays, and I go to trivia nights and I go, I know that.
Antonella, that is awesome. I love that.
Well, I think we have to have another episode with Antonella where we can talk about
Teaching in your
the
30s.
trials and tribulations. Well, teaching in your 30s, yeah, you can join us for that. And also what the experience of doing daily OT work is like, because it helps us to, mitigate. And it also, I just think those conversations should happen more and more. We all have our own situations, and it's great to talk about.
Yeah, that also goes to show that you might enter your career really thinking that you want to teach this one subject or these two subjects, but then you get experience with other subjects and you might find something that you are interested in, or you might find something that makes you say, hey, I can actually teach this.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to ask you one more question. What is giving you the most joy in your work right now? Because we love hearing about joy in this profession.
Okay, well, going off my last idea, one of my favorite things about being a supply teacher is getting to meet so many different students. So not only am I learning so many different subjects, but I'm meeting so many different people. I'm with the grade 7s and 8s pretty often, so I really get to know them. And then I'll see them a few years later in high school or even working at their jobs, and they're suddenly a foot taller with facial hair, and they run up to me and go, hey, Miss Pinelli. I'm like, who is this?
It's amazing what 2 years can do.
But they're so sweet still, and I still imagine that grade 7.
Yes.
Well, Antonella, at the end of every episode, we tend to look across the field and reflect a little bit. And I have really personally enjoyed this conversation. And looking out at the well, I'm realizing that although the well is physical and I can look down into it, and I think there's depth, in this conversation, I realize there's just so much more. There's that aquifer lying way below. Thoughts?
If you think about it, everything can be a well, and everything's much more deep than we may perceive at first. That's why teaching is such an incredible opportunity for deep learning, literally, and just growth and discovering over and over again. Every day, you'll never be bored.
Yes, I agree. Look deep and see what you can find. And I think, Antonella, you just did your takeaway for the episode. So that's going to lead me into my takeaway based on Alex's well reference. I think that as an experienced teacher, maybe you can forget what it was like when you were just starting out and you were in your 20s, if that's when you started out. And you can forget that what's lying down deep in your own well right now is that ambition and that drive and that willingness to learn and that risk taking that you have reminded us of in this episode. So I think that a good takeaway for all of us experienced teachers is to look deep and know that you still have all of these 20-year-old characteristics within you.
All right. My takeaway is that what you see is not always what you get. And once you think you know bits and pieces of someone, that you have a rich conversation and you learn so much more information. And that information makes you curious. And often through that curiosity, you have a moment where you're like, oh, I could try that. I could do that. I could be courageous, which is the big thing. And Antonella, I think you are a very courageous teacher who tries really cool new things.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Well, thank you, Antonella. What a great conversation to sit and have on a lovely evening. And I want you to know that it's this type of conversation that I know I walk away from and Chelsea walks away from, and we reflect. We reflect backwards, we reflect forwards, and you were today the spark that is going to make that reflection happen. We cannot wait to see what you do in your educational teaching journey and beyond. So it was wonderful having you, Antonella.
I had a great time. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thanks for listening to the EduWell podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe, and leave a positive review. It helps others to find us.
Follow us on Instagram and Pinterest to help spread the word. Until next time, be well
and do well.